2020 Board of Public Works meeting to order at 3 p.m. on September 2nd, 2021. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Sear.
Here.
Leo Evans.
Here.
Jennifer Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Larry.
Here.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore. Here. Commissioner Nash.
Absent.
Commissioner Pego.
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Here.
Okay. Moving on, I will ask for an approval of the minutes of our August 5th, 2021 meeting.
Approval of the agenda.
Oh, approve the agenda. I went to the box. Thanks, Susie. Can I have an approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion and support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Thank you. Now I have a approval of the minutes of August 5th, please.
We got still to
Should we vote on the?
Oh, we have to vote on it. All right, let's just start over, guys.
The ones that have-
All in favor of the
Anything you
approval
say.
of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
The ones in the boxes are the ones you have to voice vote.
The agenda is approved.
It's just a link.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item C, approval of the minutes of August 5th, 2021 that I've tried to do 3 times now.
Motion to approve.
And we have a motion from
Support.
Commissioner Hughes and support from Commissioner Brown. Thank you.
Sear.
Okay, before public comment today, I have a couple gentlemen in our,
We still have to vote.
oh yeah, we have to vote for the approval of the minutes, my bad. Can I have a roll call vote on the approval of the minutes, please?
I was wrong. The boxes are just so that there was a link if you had.
There's a box for
If
live.
there's money, Tina will let you know, right, Tina? If there's money involved and we have to have a
If
roll
she
call,
wants-
you'll let us know.
She wants a roll call. We can do
Right,
it.
I was just explaining
Well,
to
she
her.
was saying
I
that,
screwed her up.
but because some of these have boxes around them for some reason. Yeah, no, all in favor of approval of the minutes of August 5th, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, our agenda and our minutes are both approved. And before we go on to public comment, there's a couple of gentlemen here with us today that we're going to introduce. Water Resources Commissioner Brenda Moore.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's a couple. Probably just
Well, I have
one.
someone else that
Okay,
asked
so say, whoa.
for something too. So.
Dallas Goldberg is our new deputy water
Can you speak in
resource.
your
Oh,
microphone?
I'm sorry. Dallas Goldberg, sir, is his son, is our new water resources commissioner. I don't think they're on. I'll just speak up. Our new deputy water resources commissioner. He's been with us for 6 months, but we've been Zooming, and I wanted to introduce him when we were all in person. He came to us from the Conservation District. He used to be the director. And the major reason I selected him is he has a background similar to mine in natural resource management, soil erosion control. He's great with grants. In fact, he was here all of 2 months. He's probably sick of me bragging about this, but he already landed a $200,000 grant to build a wetland up in the Pearson District. And so he's been a real asset. And I just wanted you to see his face in his new capacity, Dallas.
Okay, welcome, Dallas. Thank you for coming.
You can go back and like sit in your cubie and whatever you want. I won't make you stay through this. And thanks,
Have a good day. We also have Steve Fink with us if you want to approach explain.
I'm Steve Fink, Public Works Engineer, and Matt wanted me to just get up and briefly speak about the channel crossing project. It's been several decades in the making, and it's finally going to start Tuesday. Gabe's Construction is the company that is coming over from Wisconsin, so they'll be traveling in with their drill rig and support equipment. And we're going to set up shop first in Leo's Margaret Drake Elliott Park. So that's where the first drill rig is going to be put in. They will start with all their setup, working on their pilot hole and such. It'll be multiple weeks as they drill underneath the channel and up to the bathhouse in Muskegon State Park. The big 30-inch HDPE pipe will probably arrive about mid-October. It honestly is first getting fabricated probably as we speak. So the pipe that'll go in the ground isn't even produced yet. But that is the schedule to get started, and you'll see the equipment roll in. The Margaret Drake Elliott Park area will be blocked off to some degree, going over to the Ovals area and the Deck Restaurant, but we are going to keep Beach Street open initially. So, we've given notification to residents. I think we're in good shape. We had another meeting with the contractor on Tuesday via Zoom, and they're ready to go. DLZ and the county are both impressed with their communication, attention to detail. So we fully anticipate a good start. Once that first bore of about 4,000 lineal feet is done by the end of this calendar year, that's when they will move over and start with the bore that will go underneath the dunes over to the Snug Harbor area of Muskegon State Park. So there's no float in the schedule. That means there's no slack time. We hope weather cooperates with them to have all these sections done and connected together by mid-May of 2022. So with that, if there's any quick questions, I'll try to answer them. Yes, Commissioner.
Mr. Fink, did you say that the Margaret Drake Elliott Park is going to be off of access to people? I know a lot of people go down there.
Well, what
close it down completely? So
we are not closing down the park completely. A detour will actually be set up as you go down Beach Street. You will cut through the park to get over to the Ovals area. We will be snow fencing off the playground for safety. And once the driller feels that their pilot hole is, adequately stable, then we will reopen that back up. But the park pavilions and such, that is not going to be closed.
okay, good, thank you.
Steve, when they drill that, what do they do with the material that they remove? How do they get that out?
That gets screened out. The tip of this, it's actually a hollow drill stem that shoots drilling mud out. And that's a mixture of bentonite and other additives that are very heavy. And those actually come back, what's called return. And the sand material or clay, whatever it may be, that actually gets filtered out. And then they'll reuse the drilling mud again as much as they can. And those spoils from the drilling process actually get landfilled or, put somewhere. It's not a hazardous compound at all. It's sodium bentonite and some additives.
So I'm just curious. So this, it's a 30-inch hole, so it's a pretty big hole.
Will be a bigger hole than 30-inch to accommodate a 30-inch pipe.
What keeps it from caving in?
It's the weight of the drill mud. The viscosity of that is quite thick and the specific gravity is very heavy. And that's what they're relying on to keep the materials from collapsing in. And so they will have to keep that borehole open until it's time for the pipe pullback. So before that happens, they'll probably do a couple more reaming passes just to make sure that it's nice and open. And when the time is right, it's a capped end on the end of the 30-inch pipe. And that gets attached to the end of the drill stem and it gets pulled in, and obviously drill mud gets displaced and shoved out the end, and that has to, get handled appropriately. But it's a procedure that's been utilized for quite a long time. I've been fortunate enough to actually be on a job like this 20 years ago. That was actually bigger pipe. So it's, certainly doable, and it's, a really neat thing. And it's going to be so much less environmental disturbance than, any type of open cut method as we go through the critical dune areas and such. So it's got that good impact also.
So there's been a shortage of raw material for everything. I don't care what it is. That doesn't seem to be an issue at this point, getting pipe or.
No, they've been, been told by their supplier ISCO that no, the pipe will not, be a problem. We aren't suffering kind of the same fate that the wastewater project had earlier this year with HDPE pipe. Ours was bid out after the whole thing with Texas, refineries freezing and such. So we're not aware of that it's going to be a supply issue at this time.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, next is public comment. Is there any public comment on the line? Eggleston Township, I see you're on the line and you have an item on the agenda that concerns you. If Eggleston wants to speak, now's your chance. I don't see them raising their hand at all. Is there anyone? There's no one in the audience. So, okay, if there's no public comment, I'm going to close public comment and move on to items for consideration. BPW 21/09-85 from Public Works, Matthew Center to approve The requested fiscal year 2022 budget for the Muskegon County Regional Water System as presented and recommended by the Regional Water System Policy Board, and to approve the revised fiscal year 2021 budget on page 45.
So moved.
Support. We have a motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. BPW 21/09-86, Public Works Matthew Fair asking to approve the requested fiscal year 2022 budget and revised fiscal year 2021 budget for the Muskegon County Solid Waste Management System. Refer to page 53.
So moved.
Support.
Motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Brown. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. BPW 21/09-87, Resource Recovery Center, Dave Johnson asking to approve the Resource Recovery Center's requested fiscal year 2022 budget and revised fiscal year 2021 budget for page 64.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hughes.
Under miscellaneous construction, for this year, there was $4 million for recommended budget for 2022. There's zero. Under here.
Dave Johnson, the Waters Resource Recovery Center, sorry.
Hey, we'll share.
So in 2022 zero, those projects are divided up in different ways. So they'll occur somewhere in there. You're under the 4911, is that correct? Or?
Yes, 4911.
Okay. There are other places where those
Okay.
projects are going
I
to
just
crop
thought
up.
it's unusual that we would do $4 million in 21 and not do any in 22. Okay, thanks, CJ.
Yeah, they're there in 22, but they
Okay.
don't always show up in 4911.
It's
Some of
in the South Irrigation Station replacement.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay, so some of them they.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They're in the actual
spell out
project
the project
themselves.
name.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
Thank you.
questions, comments, or concerns on number 87? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to BPW 21/09-88. Public Works Matthew Fair asking to authorize the procurement department to solicit procurement level quotes to relocate the Laketon and stockpile to the solid waste stockpile.
So moved.
Page 87. A motion from Commissioner Hughes
Support.
and a support from Commissioner Brown. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, let's for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. BPW 21/09-89, Public Works Matthew Fair asking to approve the purchase of electronics collection services from Goodwill Industries of West Michigan for the 2021 collection events, with any charges for transportation, packing materials, or recycling fees to be paid at cost from the Solid Waste Fund 5710-0527, reference page 88.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Wilkins. Is there support from Commissioner Sears? Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question. Did we
Okay,
go out for
Commissioner
bids on this?
No, we did not. We always use Goodwill because they're local and they provide this essentially for free. All we pay for is the boxes, pallets, and stuff like that. And they're the only one in town that can handle these electronics, and they get rid of it either to Wisconsin and Grand Rapids for recycling. The intent of this motion is just in case we had a huge event that used more than $3,500 worth of materials, which has never happened. We just want to be safe that you have authorized us to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
No.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to BPW 21/09-90, Public Works Matthew Fair asking to award litter cleanup services for the, I gotta get rid of that. For the period of September 3rd, 2021 through December 31, 2022 to Field Technology Services for the proposal date August 16, 2021, and authorize the Public Works Board Chair to sign the proposal.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Brown. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hughes.
Matt, is this the same person that's been doing it in the past?
Yes.
You could not hire anybody better. You're just absolutely fabulous. Thank you.
Could not agree more.
Okay, that has Commissioner Hughes' vote stamp of approval. So any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I'm the garbage queen.
Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to BPW 21/09-91, Public Works Matthew Fair asking to waive the procurement process and approve immediate release of payment for the purchase of Neptune meters, software, and parts for the regional water system from sole source vendor Ferguson Enterprises, Inc. for fiscal year 2022.
So moved.
Or
I have motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Brown. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I just, curiosity, Neptune meters, they're not made in Grand Haven, are they? That's a different company.
No.
No.
You're probably thinking of Carlon meters used
Yeah.
to be made in Grand Haven many, many years ago.
Okay. That's fine.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Larry.
Is this the same vendor as last year?
Yes, it is.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing the last roll call, please.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. BPW 21/09-92, Resource Recovery Center, Dave Johnson, asking that the vendor and contractor relationships outlined on the attached schedule be approved to continue under existing arrangements for the time period of October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion and support from Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Brown. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I just have one question. DJ, are all these carryovers with existing contracts? Are you asking to renew contracts without getting the budget fixed?
These are companies that we would have contracts with, or that would be the authorized dealer, things like that.
Okay. Okay.
And there's comments.
Okay, I mean, like, I'm just talking Curse Disposal Services, sole provider. Well, they're obviously not the only one that could provide that service.
Is that,
They are the only one that'll come all the way up to the wastewater.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay,
I've tried.
okay,
Well, thank
There you
you
go.
for trying.
that's what, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I have one more question. I've known this for years. The consumer's energy bill to operate out there is about $2 million, and it has been that for years. Have we ever looked at solar panels to do that ourselves, or is that impossible?
We have looked at that. from time to time when Jonathan Wilson was here. And there are some difficulties with that. You have to pay consumers to be your backup, and it's not as rosy a picture as it made out to be sometimes.
Commissioner Pegel, could I
Go ahead.
And just kind of want to reply to that too. The wastewater runs those pumps 24 hours a day. And so a lot of it's done in the dark. So it's really hard to store solar power too. So that was one of the things that was a bad fit for solar for running wastewater. Because we looked into that before and it just doesn't work.
Go ahead, resource.
Thank you, Brenda.
Commissioner.
I kind of hear what Pat's saying, and when we have a large bill like that, I know there's difficulties, and there always is trying to go to alternative energy, but I think we need to do something or have a plan at some point to do something. If it doesn't work for powering the motors and have lights that go on and stuff like that. I mean, I think we're trying to set an example, and we're trying to get alternative energy out there. So, it's probably easier said than done, but it doesn't make me feel good to go, well, it's a bother, and we got a lot of stuff going on, and then just leave it at that. I know there's probably more thought put into it than that, but I sure hope everyone still keeps an eye out to maybe have that option at some point.
Right, and of course, our commitment to alternative energy is that we are leasing 2,000 acres for that very purpose and putting that in. Of course, that's not necessarily
the
just
same as
us.
our operations doing something,
Right, but anyway, that energy is going to the grid, and so we do have that.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. BPW 21/09-93 Resource Recovery Center, Dave Johnson, asking to approve the 5-year contract for uniform service with Apparel Master Continental Linen Service and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
So moved.
Support.
And motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Brown. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I will roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. BPW 21/09-94 Resource Recovery Center, Dave Johnson and Matthew Fair, asking to accept the low bid from Jackson Murphy Contractors for IFB 21-2427 interception ditch cleaning for a total of $757,435.
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Hughes. Do you have a second?
Support.
And support from Commissioner Brown. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, no questions, comments, or concerns on number 94. I'll have a roll call vote, please.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, next is BPW 21/09-95 Resource Recovery Center, Dave Johnson, asking to add a second chemist position effective October 1, 2021 at the pay table grade NX-00290 of $26.93 per hour to $33.99 per hour in the Resource Recovery Center Department. Refer to page 114.
So moved.
Okay, a motion and support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Brown. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Dave, for you, I think. How many chemists do you have out there right now?
We have one chemist that's operating the GCMS, and basically we have one. We have someone that used to be a chemist, and we elevated that position to quality assurance officer. So essentially we have one chemist.
And how long have you operated with just one?
We have had one since I'd say the last maybe 6 years or so. I mean, off the top of my head.
So have we had an increase in flow or?
We've had an increase in sampling.
Why is that?
Because of a lot of it because of PFAS. We're under the scrutiny of Eagle at the moment and have a lot of sampling to do. And with our permit the way it is now, we have a very large monitoring well sampling requirement. And the new permit that's coming up, and in light of PFAS, I'm not expecting it to get any better. In fact, worse. We used to do the sampling for Muskegon County Solid Waste on their monitoring wells, and the lab had to give that up because they just did not have the resources to do it. And it's getting, we're under the microscope right now, and we've got the Whitehall sampling. So we also want to have a backup for the other chemists and operating the GCMS.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Madam Chair, no,
Yes.
I'm also just to confirm this position will be in the next 2022 year budget. So obviously this was not a budgeted item for this year.
That's
for
right.
Next year. And the budget, just to, so this this individual would start in October, or would it be?
Yeah, she would start sometime in October. I mean,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not even going to be budgeted till then, so he couldn't
Okay.
start. He or she couldn't start before that.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, we'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wilkins? Yes. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Sear?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Laren?
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Yes.
And Chair Titles?
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, BPW 21/09-96, Resource Recovery Center, Dave Johnson, asking to authorize the creation of a new position in the Resource Recovery Center Department as Engineer Project Manager with pay table grade NX-00421, $38.25 per hour to $48.65 per hour, effective October 1, 2021, reference page 115.
So moved.
Support.
And the motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Skolnick. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Brenda?
I would just like a little more rationale to create the new position. And why they would have to be an engineer. I see in your explanation, the GIS database and asset management. Can we really keep a person busy for all that? Or maybe you could just elaborate a little bit more so I understand it better, please.
Sure. As far as the GIS database, keeping all that current, you recall that back in 2016, we had Prime Roth do our SAW grant asset management and gave us a bunch of data. It's a lot of work keeping all that current. We're constantly having new projects and things are in place and so on. So there is a lot there. We also plan in the near future to get an asset management and maintenance management software, and lots of things to be entered there. And so he would assist with that, he or she.
Well, you gotta say she or he.
She or he.
Like
They.
that. Just once in a while, so we don't feel like
They.
we're attacked.
Okay.
Yeah, it.
And involved in project management, we do have a lot of construction projects going on, and someone on the wastewater side to be right there involved in those. And this person would be basically analogous to Steve, who's here. The same.
And the interface with Brian Newhoff and just making sure things. Yeah, I guess my big thing was, why do you need an engineer to keep up databases and the asset management software? Maybe a GIS person's better.
Well, that is in addition to project management. So it's engineering type of work, and I threw that in there as well, hoping that this person will help with those items as well.
Well, and then my final comment, if you're hiring an engineer, because they're high technical and high operational, sometimes GIS is pretty mechanical, and it seems like you would waste that caliber person's time on GIS, but GIS is pretty complicated, so you want someone specifically trained in that. And as I think of when I use engineers or whatever, I've got engineers and I've got GIS people and you've got survey people, and you don't really cross them over and waste the time. So, and that suggests you don't need the person. I just wonder if an engineer doing a lot of GIS work is the best use of their time or even realistic.
Well, that's a good point, Brenda. Thinking of things, and the project management is the main engineering function. Project management, writing specs for projects that we have going on and things like that.
So would Newhoff not do that for us then?
Well, there are some smaller projects. For instance, we had a parking lot project, and we did that. And I did borrow somewhat from Steve Fink on that, and had recommendations for the handicap parking requirements. He had all that and gave that to me to add the specs, and drawings for the bollards, posts to protect things, and recommendations on the concrete thickness and recommendations for asphalt. Some very valuable information that he graciously gave us. But that would be an idea of some projects that
I still struggle with the idea of an engineer, that level of ability doing those things. I know Mr. Fink does a lot more than that, but good luck finding the person who will do all that, I guess is what I'm saying. So just maybe think about it. I'm not in disagreement. You can probably use the help. I'm just questioning all the stuff you're asking them to do and their specific training and what they'll be best at.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Go
ahead, Commissioner Larry.
So, I don't know what the range of salary works out to be, but close to 100 grand a year. And you mentioned one project you could have used them on as a parking lot. It seems to me it would have been a lot cheaper to hire Prine Newhoff or a civil engineer that we have many locally to tackle that little project, maybe than even bugging Steve with it. I don't, that's a lot of money for one project you've mentioned so far. I tend to agree that these guys are not going to be a software expert in GIS programs or many others you might ask them to tackle. Is this a mandated function? I mean, have you got some requirement that you have to have a licensed engineer at the wastewater for this?
It's not a mandated function. What we're doing is ensuring that we get the not only the education, but the experience. With PE, you've got both. And so the salary that we're offering is something that we want to use to get a qualified, experienced person that can do the project management.
So would you use Prine Newhoff less? Is that what I'm hearing? I don't see the balance in this. We're going to start our own engineering department out there. We typically would subcontract this stuff out. I'm not, typically your stuff makes sense to me. This doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to me.
All right. Well, Prine Newhoff would still do the major construction projects, right? If there was something smaller, and I gave that parking lot and as one example, he could write the specs for that. But as far as the other construction projects, he would be a project manager, watching over on our behalf.
So you're talking about an owner's rep? the projects, a parking lot typically wouldn't have an owner's rep or the specifications. Nobody writes specifications anymore. They just cut and paste them. They're already out there from concrete to steel to blacktop, the specific, and they just pick which ones they want. It doesn't necessarily, this isn't something the guys can sit down and write. Name some other projects you intend to put on this guy besides surveying or the GAIS programs. What projects in 2022, 2023 would you pull away from an engineering firm or Prine and Newhoff and put on this individual?
Not intended to pull away from Prine and Newhoff, but to project manage those on behalf of the county.
Well, when you county, this is specifically for wastewater, or do you share it with?
Well, I say the county, okay, the Resource Recovery Center.
Okay.
Yeah. So what projects? We've got the A station force main, and we've got the W station force main. We've got South station construction. We've got J station construction. We've got J station force main construction. We have lots of projects currently going on and soon to be going on.
So you intend to use this person as an owner's rep at these facilities? I mean,
right, watching over, engaging with Prine and Newhoff.
That doesn't take a licensed engineer to do those projects.
Yeah. When Commissioner Larry said Supervisor Hodges is next.
DJ, oh, you had your hand up.
No.
DJ, correct me if I'm wrong here. When we've been discussing this MOU for the wastewater group, and the fund balance overage you guys have, we kind of discussed the fact that projects are not being completed when they could be if we had somebody overseeing them. This is the position that would probably help you guys spend more money efficiently so that you're not having these issues that are causing us to create this MOU.
Right, we've had a lot of discussions talking about the value of a project manager with the.
Okay, because currently you guys are in violation of the MOU with the wastewater committee because you're not completing projects fast enough. And this will help with that, correct?
Right.
Yep. Thank you.
DJ, I thought that this would also, is this replacing somebody that's left too, isn't it?
This is also, yes, we do have a person who is retiring soon.
Okay. I didn't know if this was a Dave Bontis, replacing Dave Bontis too. What he did.
No, this is not replacing Dave.
Okay,
Bontis.
I just wondered if that was.
I have another question.
Yep, Doug was next, okay. And then you.
No, I think he has. So it says a new position. So number one, my question was, how were some of these projects handled in the past, and who was the liaison between Prime Newhoff and that? So
right now, I don't have anyone specifically doing that. I do have, so Dave Bontis actually did some, and Vivek Singh has done some also.
You're expanding the role of that person when they retire to be broader, more involved in projects.
Right. I want to require the PE so that I ensure that I get someone with the education and the experience. It's like a not a certification, but the word I'm looking for. So leaving the anyway, criteria that we want them to meet.
Commissioner Larry.
I'm sorry to keep beating you up on this thing, but the idea of even when the convention center was built, I think the name of the company was Simplicity or Construction Simplified.
Yep.
They hired somebody specifically to keep between the schedule and the contractor and the owners to keep the schedule moving along. There are companies that do this. I don't remember the dollar value of these individual projects that you just mentioned. But if we're significantly behind, as Jennifer mentioned, on some projects and we're in violation of some of our memorandums of understanding, some of these projects, they're in excess of $1 million that you rattled off. The only one I remember is J Station, but you mentioned several. I don't understand why we don't employ contractually an owner's rep or some sort of a middle manager to, if we can't keep track of those things, and I'm sorry, but I'm falling back on my own personal experience on larger projects, we'll have a third party that will monitor these things. And if you fall behind on the schedules, the construction schedules or milestones, you better have a darn good reason for it. And I can understand that there's a lot of things going on there, but if these projects can get in excess of $2-3 million, and you're distracting this person with other tasks, it's going to be very difficult for him to her or him. But my point is, there are processes involved in this and schedule milestones that have to be met. And it honestly doesn't take an engineer to say, hey, you were supposed to have 60 foot of pipe laid today, or you were supposed to have dug, 300 yards of trench today, and it doesn't happen. It just basically takes somebody that can pull out a tape measure and see they didn't do what they said for 4 days in a row and they're 200 feet short. To me, this seems like this is an overshot of what you're really looking for. And if you're going to have, you don't seem to have the projects listed. The only one that you've mentioned in the background you would have used this person on is a parking lot to engineer. I mean, that's what these guys are they go to school for, is to engineer projects. And a parking lot typically doesn't even go through an engineering firm. It just, you hire a local survey team and they can pull the specs out of any book. They don't write them. They're just cut and pasted specs. So anyways, I'm sorry to beat you up and lecture you. I'm going to be a no vote on this one. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
I have a question, and then I'll let Matt Fair speak. So you mentioned that there is a position coming up for retirement. So is this replacing that? Are you eliminating a position?
I am not. This is adding a position.
So what are you doing with the one that's retiring? This has nothing to do with that one, then. I think Doug alluded to something.
I did. I asked because I knew that David retired, so I thought maybe that was.
No, he said there's another one retiring.
Yeah.
Someone.
Vivek Singh will be retiring.
So what's happening to that position?
That position will be rehired.
So this is a completely new addition?
This is a completely new
Not what this other person did or this other person, something completely entirely new.
This is a new position.
Okay, Matt, would you want to expound on?
Yeah, this is Dave Singh. I don't want to stick my nose in it, but I do interface with the users group when it comes to finances. And over the last 20 years, you all recall, the wastewater essentially borrowed $100 million to do repairs of the system. The users group and the kind want to do that. We want to, pay for projects as we go. And the capital improvement plan that they've submitted over the next 10 years is about $10 million a year for projects. We could easily spend $10 million a year in this plant from here to the end of time. It's a $500 million asset. He used to have, wastewater used to have 2 registered engineers. So our site had 3. Now we're down to 2, and they're both on our side. I don't see it necessarily as the owner's rep. And Dave and I have talked about this.
How long ago was that, Matt? The last time they had the PEs? How long ago was that?
Jake Pinker was here 2010.
2010. And then, and even though, Mark was out there and he's not a registered engineer, but he has a hard science degree and he understands this stuff. Looking at it would be more than just a parking lot thing. That it would be, going to Supervisor Hodges' point. Steve Fink is working on one project right now. It takes probably half of his time. A lot of his time. Okay. Just getting these things lined up, keeping things straight, getting the engineers. There's just so much to do there. So it's more than just owner's rep that doesn't require PE. And Dave also mentioned that this position would advise the ops maintenance. Okay, there are no engineers out there. There's oftentimes when pumps have
an engineer.
Oh, you do? Cool.
Yeah. the next thing. He's not a PE.
He's a chemical engineer.
Yes, he's a chemical.
This is looking to be more civil mechanical. I mean, these huge pumping systems, it's something that, you know, again, you and I have worked on, you know, together, and it's more than just an owner's rep.
And so is it something you're greatly lacking now, like connecting things? I guess that's kind of what the consensus is we've been getting along since, I guess, 2010, since you had one before. It's just a lot of money, I think, is what, you know,
Right.
how to justify it.
A lot of money, because we want to pay what it takes to get this person to do the project management. So could you repeat your question again, Commissioner?
There's just a statement saying that the consensus is you've been getting along, I think he just said since 2010 without one.
I'm not
So,
part of that consensus.
oh, I'm sorry.
I wouldn't say consensus.
Not consensus, but well, okay. Your statement was combining the two different avenues of GIS and PE together, and then Commissioner Laring's.
Dave, does it require a PE to submit a Part 41 application to the state for a sanitary sewer upgrade project?
It does require that, yes.
So your PE would be able to review those permit applications and interface with the state and handle that part of the job function?
Yes, although, to be honest, Pride and Newhoff does those.
So the other thing, from my standpoint, you know, I do a lot of the same function for the city.
Right.
You know, we try to save a lot of money on change orders, and having that person there is your oversight to keep an eye on those projects and be looking ahead for the problems that are going to come up after you bid it, after you award it, after you budget for it, and try to avoid those. So while it costs money up front, it oftentimes will save you money on the back end, having that person be your advocate. And if you don't have that person now, could certainly be a problem. I could see that.
Right. And you know, I mentioned the parking lot because that was another thing I could think of. We also recently had our grain center renovated. And I think we would have greatly benefited from having someone, you know, an engineer on staff help with that project. We kind of did it as we went, and, you know, encountered projects or problems that we didn't foresee that I think would have been foreseen. That was one we tried to do in-house.
You did, sorry.
Yep,
Looking
Brenda
at me,
was
but I don't know if
actually
you're
next.
talking to me.
Brenda.
Thank you. I guess my question is for Leo, if this is fair, and I think I know the answer. Are you going to get a seasoned engineer for $38 an hour? There's another one of my concerns is you're asking me to do a lot. You need a lot of help. I get that. I agree with it. But in addition to questioning whether or not they should be doing GIS, are you going to get someone fresh out of college? It's just going to be bouncing around and not really, you know, learning on the job. You don't want someone learning on a job right now.
Well, to get a PE, you've got to, you know, out of college, you pass your EIT.
Right.
Or
then you go to reality and start working.
And then you start working.
And you learn for real.
And you learn, and then you become a
I think you need a few years, 4 years. Okay. Yeah,
so there'll be a minimum of 4 years experience.
And I'm just suggesting, you know, I want you to be realistic, and I'm not trying to sound matronizing. Is that a word? I just don't think. Yeah, instead of patronizing. Yeah.
Because
just, I hope you get what you want, and I hope you can at that salary range. And I don't think you're going to get all the work done that you need done with this one person.
All right. Again, I appreciate that, and it could be that this is unrealistic, and you know that the GIS can be delegated to someone else.
But even if it's without GIS, can you get a quality person that's well seasoned that can jump in and be productive to you as an engineer at $38 an hour? And I don't know the answer to that.
That is a good question, and I guess I won't know until.
I really don't want you to come back and go, well, you know, we actually really needed this range because we're not finding anybody. That kind of sets you up for failure.
I don't know until I've tried.
Okay,
I've had that question. I had one person recently tell me he thought that it was in the ballpark. Someone who's an engineer. So I bet I am hoping that there will be someone that will take the bait.
I can tell you all the engineers I work don't make, they make a lot more than that.
Yeah, and I could be disappointed, and we'll have to reevaluate. We
I
don't
hope
get
you're
anybody
not.
after
Let me
the.
be quiet. I hope you're not.
Well, I hope, yes. We're all hoping for the best, of course.
Any other questions? Doug, did you have something?
No.
Oh. So that, my last question then is, you're gonna post this, you don't have someone already in mind that you're leaning towards?
I have nobody in mind for this position yet.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brown,
No.
Commissioner Seer,
No.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
No.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
No. And that motion passes. Moving on. Let's see, there are informational items, Public Works Monthly Operations Report, Resource Recovery Center Monthly Operating Report, Muskegon County Regional Water Policy Board Minutes from August 2021.
Yes, wasn't that vote 4-4? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was 4-4.
We're missing something, so it does not pass, I'm sorry. Thank you for catching that.
Do we have some direction?
It just doesn't pass.
Well, I heard what you said. Can I put you on the spot? Can we say reevaluation, go back and reevaluate?
I'd like to reevaluate the current, your staff. You have someone retiring, you've got
I
some
thought you
new
might
needs.
reevaluate the position.
Well, yeah, reevaluate the position. too.
I agree.
Yeah. So I understand what you're trying to do, but I think the way it was written and we need to kind of reevaluate some of the things that we talked about. So
May I, am I hearing it's not a no, forget about the position, but it could be reconsidered if it was thought out a little bit more?
reconsider, you've got people retiring, you've got shifts and type of responsibilities you currently have and what you're creating a position with some new responsibilities. And so in my mind, I think you need to take a look at what your needs are going forward and what has been done in the past and stuff. So Brenda, what did you?
No, I mean, I thought I heard you say that. I thought it was thoughtful, and just to know with no guidance, it seems a little unfair because I believe they need help.
I understand.
Excuse me.
No, actually that motion failed. So sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out. I couldn't write as fast as the votes went. So that actually failed. We'll have to reevaluate your deal and bring us something back next time. So moving on with the informational items that I just spoke about. So left off on C, Muskegon County Regional Water Policy Board Minutes, August 2021. The draft is on page 161. And Muskegon Municipal Wastewater Management Committee Minutes, August 2021 draft is also included on page 165. We don't need to go over those. You can look at those if you haven't already later. Our next item is unfinished business. And before I go to full discussion, is there any other unfinished business that we need to discuss? Anybody have anything to come before the board? Okay, so we do have Wolf Lake discussion on page 167.
You're like,
Matt, do you wanna?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. The administrator wanted to discuss the Wolf Lake level thing while Brenda was here. That's why it's good for you today. You recall that the Board of Commissioners passed the agreement that's before you. Essentially what the agreement does is it will take the county out of the assessment. And where the county agrees to eat all costs that's incurred to date operating the pump, essentially. The Water Resources Commissioner has some concerns. Mike's here. He will speak on behalf of the county on this. And we just want the board to understand both sides' concern. So with that, Mike, do you want to start off?
Well, I think the agreement speaks for itself. I don't have any feedback on the contents of it. I guess from the perspective of the Water Resource Commissioner, I mean, there are provisions under statute which allow the county board to delegate authority under the Inland Lakes Act and setting the legal lake level to delegate some of that authority to the Water Resource Commissioner, which it's done by way of this agreement. But as for feedback on the contents of it, I haven't received any back. So I'm not sure what the issue is. There's certainly a dispute, a genuine and I think sincere dispute over the establishment of the drain that currently covers Wolf Lake. There was a drain established some probably 30 years ago, as well as the establishment of a special assessment district. But that hasn't been utilized except maybe for one time back in 2015, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So what this agreement would do is try to establish that legal lake level and then vacate the drain that's there. But there are risks involved. For example, the cost of the preliminary lake study, right? That is at risk because if the legal lake level is not established, then that's an expenditure for which there's been no allocation or no appropriation. In other words, who is going to pay for that? That can run, I don't know what the latest estimate was, $35,000, $45,000. I mean, all told, when you add in legal fees and publication costs and all of the things that have to go with it, you're talking about, to establish the legal lake level, probably $60,000 to $75,000, which will only be recouped if the legal lake level is established and the special assessment district formed. So that's where we're at from the county's perspective.
From my perspective,
Thank you.
it's going to be very simple. I saw a form of this resolution back in July, and we had a lot going on, so I apologize, Matt didn't get my feedback as quick as he probably liked, but in July, I sent back a memorandum of understanding where I felt comfortable. I have not lawyered up. It was my idea to say, you know what, this thing is out of control. No one has, you guys, the county is paying money out. I am hogtied because I don't have a lake level. I see this going on. I know that the county being in the assessment district is an issue. So it was my idea, let's just resolve this and have a memorandum of agreement. I'll get the county out of the assessment role, make the vote so I can have the lake level study. I can't do that on my own. You have to authorize me to do that. We can recoup the money either through the drain district. I'd rather do it through the lake. In the Lakes and Streams Act, we can recoup the money for that, but we're at an impasse. And this resolution is in legalese, and there's a couple of things that make me say, wait a minute. And I think one of them, I didn't bring with me because it's like, I'm not signing this. One of them is if the judge does not establish the lake level, it's in the Drain Committee, Water Resources Commissioner's court again, I have to take that thing. The reason I said, here are the keys, sorry, Matt, is I did not have the authority to assess or do anything without an established lake level. I can't do that on my own. I need you, county board, to vote to have the study for the lake level. I can recoup that money if you make me the designee. You can recoup, you can take it over, get yourself out of the assessment district, have your staff run it like they do Browns Pond Dam. But we're at this impasse, and I don't think the drain should have been created. It's goofy. It's a big district. I think they threw a big net to help the lake people pay for a lake level, and someone who lives 2 miles away is getting assessed in the drain district. That's not right. So I made that approach without spending legal money, and I keep getting this legalese, and can't we keep it simple? I'd get you out of the district. You let me do the lake level and let's get on with our lives. Now I know there's entanglements there with the drain being there, but we've got to get past this impasse. And I'm not going to have all this put on my shoulders, which is really on the shoulders of the district. If the district gets sued, if my office gets sued, I'm assessing people in the district to pay for the lawsuit, which is crazy. If I don't have the authority and I know it and I assess, I am putting that burden on the district. So I need the county board's help on this. But there's not going to be a bunch of strings attached. I'm not going to have the district get snagged up in something. It's foolish. And I feel bad the county snagged up in it because this wasn't done right in the first place. So my memorandum of agreement, I sent in July. I think it gets the key points across. I sent it to Matt a couple of times, but it was crossed up between this agreement, excuse me. My asthma is kicking my family, so this is not, otherwise be all masked up. I can't breathe good. I apologize. So I'm not signing it. I just feel like there's too many bug traps in it, and I'm no attorney and I don't speak legalese. I'm trying to get to the logic. Let's do the lake level study. I'll get you out of the district. I have a hearing next Wednesday, September 8th. In good faith, I set that up. But all I've done so far is I've reduced the size of the Wolf Lake district to actually the waterfront property owners. Those are the people who should pay its water level. I can do that through the drain code. So I'm trying to get us closer, but that's all I can do. At this moment, the county's still in there for 20% because I'm just not getting any movement on your end. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm too thick to know the sub agenda, but that's my story. That's it.
Brenda, what is it that I guess I don't understand this well enough to know what it is that you don't like about it? What it is? Can you explain to me?
Well, there's a couple of things where I'm not entirely sure what it seems like it's double talk, frankly. And the one where if there's not the one that was, I was like, oh no, I shred it. Sorry, I should something your signature on it. It is something to the effect of if the judge does not determine the lake level, which I can't imagine him or her not doing, if they don't have a decent study, then it comes back to the drain office. Then that puts the burden back on the district. I'm not having it.
Is it part of the drain system?
What?
Is the Wolf Lake, is that part of the drain system?
The drain as created on paper is the point where the pipe is in Wolf Lake and goes through the pump and into is just a pipe and a pump. It never should have been a drain.
But it is a drain.
It is, but I'm not going to compound the mistakes that Mr. Holcomb made. I'm trying to get us somewhere.
But right now it is technically a drain under your jurisdiction.
There's a drain there, but it's not appropriate. My attorney advised me a long time ago, do not assess. Do not get involved with that until there's a lake level. This should have been in the lakes and streams. It was inappropriate. Don't compound the mistake. Don't jump into that rat's nest. And I listened to her.
But technically for us, because it is technically a draining, we don't have authority over it, do we?
Where I need the board's authority is to the vote, no strings attached, the vote to do a lake level study. We can recoup that money. The money that's being spent now every month on that pump, well, I think it's off now.
But if we give you the authority to do that, and then does this then go to you?
If you decide you want me to be your agent, I frankly think Matt's doing a better job. He probably doesn't need something else on his plate. He knows pumps, he knows that stuff.
Matt, would you explain this to us?
Which part?
Yeah, good luck. If you
Let's start from the beginning where you got all straight up.
So you establish a lake level, so what?
Okay,
What does
so
that mean?
Mike would be better to talk about the legal ramifications of establishing a lake level. I think where we're here now is.
Well, what I'd like to tell you, if I may just back up, the Inland Lakes and Streams Act, it's now codified into the Environmental Protection Act. Inland Lakes and Streams language specifically calls out the county board as having jurisdiction over lake levels. Okay, that's not the drain code. The drain that's in there in the drain code gives me certain authority, but where the snafu is under inland lakes and streams, there's a process. And the previous drain commissioner went through it, but the last thing he did not do is you're supposed to take your lake level study to the court and say, Your Honor, make the lake level declare itself. They never did that. And something we never expected is when we got before the judge, he basically said, this is old and it's not there's not a lot of information. I want a new study. I can't do that. You have to authorize that.
So you get a new study, then what?
You take it to the judge and say, please accept this now. It's modern. It's got a good rationale for the lake level we're suggesting. Will you accept it? And once he does, bam, there's the authority to tax. There's the authority to assess. Because the drain code is crisscrossed with the Inland Lakes and Streams Act. There's some layer that happened that's the screw up, in my opinion. Here's this drain code thing saying, hey, we're going to assess you when there's no lake level and there's no basis under inland lakes and streams. I should have been, this office should have been your agent, not the one to take over under the drain code. Does that make sense? Two laws.
So someone set the lake levels already?
No, that's the problem.
No,
Well,
well, you said that.
It was Department of the Natural Resources, I think at the time, that approved everything and authorized the permit. But the last step, well, it probably should have done the step before the permit was issued, is go to a judge and declare itself. And somehow that's what gives the power tax. It did not get done in the 80s when this went in.
Yeah, 88.
Yeah.
So where we're here now is, I'm sorry.
So what's that? Okay, let's say this has happened. We've done this and the judge says, yeah, this is a great lake level. What happens then? Are you responsible then for?
You decide. The county can say, thank you very much. We're going to take the taxing ability over. Somehow we need to dissolve the drain district. That's goofy. Or you could delegate, even pretend the drain district isn't there. In an ordinary lake level situation, you can say we're handling it, like Browns Pond Dam. They went through the process and your staff handles it. Your staff sends out the assessments. Or you could say, Water Resources Commissioner, we'd like you to do it for us. You get to decide. And then you can assess. You decide, hey, we're out of the district.
And if you assess, you keep the money. If we assess, we keep the money.
It's no keeping it. You're
okay,
just getting reimbursed.
I'm just asking if that's what.
Yeah, if you assess it, goes in a fund balance for you. If I assess it, well, I guess it still would because we're trying to get the drain district out of this equation. It shouldn't be in there. But first things first, there's still things I think to unravel. Vote on the lake level study and don't put a bunch of tethers on me. I don't trust that. I don't know what you're getting me into with it. If the judge doesn't come through, you know, we're throwing it back at you. We're not in a different situation. I don't see that happening. It's like we're looking for trouble. Let's just get.
The Board of Commissioners has authorized a lake level study and authorized moving forward with the petition in the courts, contingent on the agreement being signed. And this is kind of why we wanted to have this discussion, this very civil discussion of, you know, what the issues are. Mark and I are not going to go against corporate counsel's recommendation. That was the contract he recommended. That's the one we put before you.
That's this one right here.
Do you have my memorandum of agreement that I
not on. But see, now from a staff standpoint, here's our interest. We don't feel the county taxpayer should participate in this drain. It doesn't participate in the Duck Lake level. That also has an established lake level. It does not participate in the Browns Pond lake level. So we don't feel the general fund should pay. And maybe it's a policy issue we just should stay out of. But we just need assurances, and that's why we originally wanted the agreement. Assurances that the county will be taken out of this.
Well, that's in my memorandum of agreement.
It is, but I'm not a lawyer either. I don't know how solid a memorandum of understanding is.
Yeah, but remember, I didn't lawyer up. I just want to get past this. And maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but frankly, if I do nothing and I don't like this agreement, we're still churning. We're still right where we are. The pump is run. I don't know if you'll turn. You could decide we're not running the pump. And I could say I don't have the authority, and you could say we don't have the authority because we don't have a lake level either. And you could just
then it goes back to the Wolf Lake Association.
I don't know that it does, and I think
Mike.
Yeah, well, here's part of the problem, right? And this drain was established some 30 years ago. From then on, either the drain commissioner's office or Public Works has been pumping water out of there.
The township did it for years.
Township did it and then said, we're not doing it anymore. Then the drain commissioner's office said, we're not doing it anymore. And the risk then is houses around Wolf Lake flood. So there is real risk there. You've been incurring that obligation in one fashion or another for 30 some years. So
well, how
this
long
agreement,
did the township, do you know that?
This agreement is not complicated. It is what, 12 paragraphs long? 12 paragraphs long. Some of that is just boilerplate language at the end. The real provisions are like paragraph 1, for example. At the execution of the agreement, the county shall pass a resolution authorizing preliminary lake level study. The provision with respect to the cost is this: if the lake level is not established, which people have the right and likely will object to, then if it's not established, the cost of that gets assessed through the Wolf Lake SAD pursuant to Commissioner's authority under the Drain Code, which currently exists today. That's where we have a disagreement. So the Drain Code, the drain was established 30 years ago. That ship has sailed, long sailed, challenging the legality of the drain itself. So we can debate this. We're trying to get to a solution, obviously, but what this agreement does is that the county's already approved is it establishes the fact that the county will authorize a preliminary lake study, designates the drain commissioner or water resource commissioner as the delegated authority, establishes a special assessment district if that drain or legal lake level is approved, and then goes through that process of the assessment to recoup those costs. And in the event that the lake level is not established, it allocates those costs back to those people currently in the district of the existing drain. That's how you mitigate that risk to the county, is spending, I don't know what they spent last time just to have the circuit court reject it, but it was a fair amount of money.
To do the study.
Not only the study was done, the study was old, there's no doubt about that. But there will be, I guarantee there will be people that come out and object to the establishment of the legal lake level. There's no doubt in my mind. So there is a risk that the circuit court says, no, we're not going to establish this.
Then what happens?
Then you're out that money, right? And then we got to figure out, well, who's paying for the continued pumping, which is still an issue.
But do we have to pump?
Well,
what if you
turn the pump off? So if you turn the pump off, right, you've taken now a practice of the county for some 30 years pumping out there and let houses flood. It could be a distinct possibility.
May I say something though? The day I took office, I think, well, the first week I took office, I got a call from the township asking me about the pump. And they had the keys and they had actually operated the pump for years. I can't really substantiate that other than I got a call. There's something wrong with the pump, and by the way, it's under your jurisdiction. I'm like, what pump? You know, I'm on the job 2 days. But I don't know that the county has operated it for 30 years. And I don't know the last time there was an assessment. I think it was when it was established. And the first assessment was the one I did in 2015 in good faith, thinking I was legal. And that's when I found out there was never a lake level established. You are exposing the district to a huge lawsuit it can't afford. And I'm sorry that I threw it back to the county. I don't know what else to do. It's a hot potato.
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure which lawsuit I'd rather face. I think the one on the drain district rather than flooding out 6, 7 homes.
Well, if you agree to defend the district, if this happens, I'm in. But to throw all these qualifiers on my office, which I have to think about the district, is like, I can't clear conscience do that, but I am having a hard time in clear conscience having the county pay for this. That's why I said, let's meet halfway. Let me get this far. And my next step is reducing the assessment area. But frankly, to take you out of the district, I completely lose my leverage and we're still in the same boat. So,
you know, I was under the impression that you actually have more leverage on this than we do.
No, I've been trying to say that all along. I do not have the authority. I need the county board. I need you guys to make that.
So all we have to do is authorize you to take care of that?
Authorize the lake level study, no strings attached. There's a memorandum of agreement where I'm saying, you know, it isn't just a lady agreement or gentleman agreement. I will take you out of the district. I will reduce the district. I'm already going to do that because it's getting a step in the right direction. I have that authority under the Drake Code. It's questionable whether I should because it is in the Lakes and Streams Act, but who's going to sue me for just making the district smaller? So I'm getting us there, but that's the farthest I'm willing to go until I can, you know, just give us all these.
Could I ask a question? If we authorize the lake study and pay for it, and then the judge rejects it, then we're out that money.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's the risk.
That's correct.
Is there been a case, do you know, if a judge rejected a study? I mean,
Yeah, right here in this.
Yeah, he rejected it last time we gave it to him.
yeah, but you should have seen it. He actually made a good decision, but I never thought he would because there's been 30 years of pumping based on that level and people have built homes based on that level. You know, I never expected that. That was a real kick in the
So
shin.
wait, and how much is the pumping cost a month?
Well, it's hard to determine what it costs a month. I mean, the electrical bills when it runs constantly is approximately $1,500.
Yeah, depending on the amount of pumping, $1,500 to $1,800
A month.
That's just for electricity.
Probably better to ask.
So I mean, that doesn't take into consideration, we've rebuilt pumps, others repairs. I mean, this is a depreciable asset.
And just so everybody knows, we did reach out to Eggleston as well because they have
Yes, we
authority
did.
under Act 188 to create a special assessment district to cover the cost and take over the pumping.
And didn't I make a bet with you? We
And
didn't have
they
any
have
money
said
on it.
Oh, they
they're not
know.
going to do so.
Not no, but how?
Screw you is what they said.
They have no interest in that.
But they're basically saying, you know, the county is causing a problem. Why should we inherit your problem? And county is my office in this body. Is it fair to ask Ms. Dick how much we owe or how much is in the red in the Wolf Lake account right now for the county? I think it's over 100,000.
You think what was it, Brenda? Excuse me, Brenda, what did you say you thought that
I
was?
think the county is into it 100,000. I've got 52,000 on the book. I'm not willing to assess because I don't want to take the risk. But I think so we're probably.
Yeah, probably 120, 130,000.
And I got
So
52.
can we add another 50 to 60 on top of that and then assess for all of that?
But the 50 or 60, if it's the lake study, that
Yep.
can be recouped in an assessment and appropriately should be. One of my arguments is because of the lack of us moving forward, whoever's not budging or whatever's not happening, I don't think the people around the lake should have to recoup the 150, you know, whatever it was for electricity the last 2 years because we didn't get off our fannies and move in the right direction.
But they were the
Now
ones
the
that benefited
52
from the pump being there.
I have, so I'm new this year, so a couple of us are stepping into this. But I do remember at the beginning, the first quarter of the year, I believe you brought us a few different options or an agreement. We agreed to this last letter C. We were going to forgive $60-some thousand for something or another. And I thought that was moving us forward, but here we are now.
Well, that was part of what would be my memorandum of agreement. Okay. Forgive at least a chunk of that because you're asking me to make.
And what was that forgiveness of that 60 grand?
The agreement specifically says that anything, the day the agreement is signed, anything incurred to date is you as a board forgive. That's what you've authorized the chair.
That's what this says.
That's what that says.
Right, and that was your recommendation, right, at that time?
Right. I still have 53,000 on the books I intend to recoup because those are repairs when I was acting in good faith that I was in good order. So I don't have a problem with that. The problem I had was when I passed the keys to Matt saying, I don't have the authority, I'm not doing this to the district. From that point on, we should have made headway. And to punish the people around the lake, because now I'm making a district just like for property owners, to punish those people and try to recoup 4 years worth of assessment in 1 or 2 years.
So we've already agreed to forgive the 60.
You've already agreed to
We've already
forgive
agreed to forgive that. So we need to do something, and I don't know what we need to do today, but I think we're all here today. We should probably move forward with something today. Well, we've got corporate counsel here, and you're here, and Matt's here. So I don't know what we need to do to establish this lake level study. It sounds like that's the.
Can I just say, the cost of pumping it would be, the money that we're risking is about 4 years worth of pumping. I mean, it just seems like we should authorize the lake study.
That's what I was trying to say.
I think so.
Yeah.
So,
And if we lose, we lose.
Okay, so what you're saying is, what I'm hearing,
With a bunch of strings attached that I'm not comfortable with.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Larry.
I would like to make a motion to have corporate counsel pursue litigation on this issue with the Drain Commissioner.
So that's an interesting motion, and I'll just interject before there's a second, because I don't think this is the right body to bring that motion. I think that the Board of Commissioners, the county board, has the authority to do that.
Who passed this motion? The county board?
County board.
It was a few months ago.
Yeah. And that's because
But that's what we thought Brenda wanted.
the county board has the authority under the Inland Act to do so, to initiate that lake level study and the legal lake level determination and petition the circuit court.
I will withdraw that motion.
I would, may I?
Yes, go ahead,
I would
Brenda.
ask that you look at my memorandum of agreement. I think it has the basis.
Did you send that to us?
I sent it to Matt and.
I don't think I have it, because if I would have had it, I would have read it.
No, I don't think you did, because I'm in Matt's defense. He doesn't probably want to throw another thing into the mix until we have this discussion, but I would ask you to look at that, because I think what you want is in there. Well, because, you know, and Matt said, well, why don't you rewrite, you know, I'm not going to rewrite what an attorney wrote. That's not my expertise, and I'm not.
Well, no, our expertise is sitting right next to me over here on the left.
He keeps giving me stuff I'm not comfortable with.
So can you pick apart specifically what you're not comfortable with so we
I
can
don't
discuss
have
it?
time to do it, and I'm not gonna.
Well, wait,
wordsmith
time out,
my
Brenda,
business.
time out. You're in the meeting right now, and we're wanting to work with you. We need to know specifically the contract that's in front of you. You're saying you don't like something about it. Can you please tell us? So
I
we can.
gave you what I thought was fair and what I was comfortable with in that I made a memorandum of agreement.
Okay, but I don't have it. I've never saw it.
okay, a couple things. If I may, Commissioner.
Please.
You're uncomfortable with the language in the contract the board approved that says, you know, if we spend $70,000 and the judge says, hey, there's no lake level, you're uncomfortable with assessing.
That's one of them.
And
A lot of this I
Commissioner
don't
Skolnick just kind of threw out there, you know, if that goes away, would you be willing to sign the contract? What else is there? What are the?
I don't think it's fair to put me on the spot and say, you know, if we take out number 10, are you good with it?
Fair enough.
I actually, there's a lot of things in here. I think it's verbose, a little complicated and unnecessary. Now, I know good attorneys are going to cover every base, but you're covering every base for your client. I'm not represented, and I'll end up with the short end of the stick, and I'm smart enough to know that. So,
Yes, please.
All due respect, Brenda, you had the opportunity to be legally represented. You use your attorney to defend you in a lot of manners and to take a lot of things off your plate. Why did you not for this?
because I have to charge her time to something. I don't have general fund money to hire an attorney. Whenever she's working or doing something for us, it's for the benefit of a drainage district. And that drainage district gets assessed for it. So every little time I call her, I'm keeping track, or every time she's defending or doing whatever, it's for the benefit of that district. So if I'm racking up attorney fees for Wolf Lake to try to figure out how to unravel this, which she's already advised me on, how am I going to get that back?
You have a drainage district there. You could assess it to
I
that. You're
have
already
been
shrinking.
said, I've been told, and you don't have the authority. It should be an inland lakes and streams project. It was not properly established. You do not technically have the authority to assess. And if somebody challenged your authority to assess and said it's inland lakes and streams, she doesn't have the authority, she's using drain code inappropriately, we'd be in tough shape with the drain district. And now I'm telling all the people at Wolf Lake, pay for the mistake that was made and keep paying. And
That's
keep paying to
100%.
argue with the county board's attorney.
But is that not what, if this doesn't happen, isn't that going to happen anyways? You already said you're in the red. You already said this. So I understand where you're coming from, and I get that, because I don't like to pay for things out of a budget line I don't have. But you've already incurred some fees. You should probably incur some more so you can at least get some things.
I've already got her
established.
opinion, and she knew I was doing this. She probably have a fit. Don't meet him part way, make him do everything. And it's like, we have to move forward somehow.
You guys are in a pickle.
Leo,
Sorry, just a
No,
dumb
thank
idea
you.
possibly. Is it possible for the county to pay the drain commission legal fees to set up
I was
an
thinking that, but I
escrow
didn't
of
wanna say it.
$5,000 or something to, hey, we agree to pay the lake level study. We'll also agree to pay the drain commission legal fees and move this forward. I don't know how that would be or what a reasonable number
So-
would be, but
No, I really appreciate the idea. So you're basically authorizing our attorneys to argue with each other. Wouldn't it be nice now if the county board agreed to pay the legal fees if I get sued for assessing? Now we're on to it. I will assess. Oh, I will recoup that money.
that's
Well, but you see there where the risk is and who gets to take it.
And here it's time to move on.
do you have any?
Yeah, I think,
Recommendations?
look, I think this is a discussion that the full county board should have. So that's the proper place.
Okay,
So-
all right.
I do need a motion to do that.
No, I don't think so.
We don't need a motion
We'll
to
have it.
bring this to the full county.
Mark.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
it's unfortunate we couldn't move this forward, but, okay, so I gotta find where I'm at here. Number unfinished business. Is there any other unfinished business to come before the Board of Public Works today?
I guess I might have something since I guess the drain is part of Public Works. I'd like to say, Brenda, you sent out notices for everybody. Did you want to change your drain district? It would have been nice if you'd have given us, for us county commissioners, the courtesy of letting us know that that was going to be going to all of our residents. Kind of give us a little heads up before we got 40 calls in one night asking questions. I'd
It's
really
usually
appreciate that
sent
next
to
time.
the community and to admin, so I apologize.
My letter came directly from the drain commissioner's office.
Well, you're in one of the districts.
But it would have been nice, you knew had the county commissioners in all of those districts, would have been nice if you'd let them know ahead of time, just a courtesy call or an email that said, hey, we're gonna be assessing you in your district.
I'm not assessing.
Is
your
it,
district.
yeah, I don't think, the letter would, you sent to the township to let us know that you're doing your day of apportionment or whatever it's called, doesn't indicate that it's an assessment. And when you do this every year, correct? Or every couple of years?
Well, we're trying to clean up the
But
records.
you're
Was it
consolidating some drains, correct?
No, was it OH Scott and Waters?
Yep.
Yeah, that's just a district.
Okay, because I
There's
had,
no
I had a gazillion questions. I didn't know the answers. It would have been nice if you'd have just explained it to us. Because I'm sure I'm not the only county commissioner that didn't know what was going on.
Well, I've been doing this for like 8 years and
But
you
this
know,
is the
it's
first
like-
time it's been in my
a
district
routine. Yeah,
close enough
okay.
that, you know,
So noted.
they called me.
Yeah, okay.
Any other unfinished business? Okay, any new business? Any new business? Okay, we need, I'll open public comment on any item. If there's anyone on the call, I see there's a few people. If you want to make a public comment, raise your hand.
It's like we're dropping off.
Yeah, I don't see anybody
Yeah.
wanting to speak, so, okay. There's no public in the boardroom, there's no public on the call. I will, any final board comments?
Yeah, I do. I noticed that the flow through the wastewater system seems to have gone down significantly. Did we lose a big customer or anything?
Commissioner Soldick, I think I heard you say why the wastewater flows
Yes,
down.
it's down a lot.
I think the reason that they are down significantly is we do have the loss of a customer, but and that's Bear Crop Science, but actually they were down before that. And the reason is we had just last year some of the highest lake levels we've had, and there was a lot of inflow and infiltration in the system. And now those lake levels are down, the groundwater levels are down. And for that reason, that inflow and infiltration is not coming in. A couple of the municipalities, I believe, have made some changes and repaired some sewer. And so they fixed that problem that way as well.
Okay,
So,
it looked like it was down around 10 million gallons a day. Is that enough to operate the system?
well, it's certainly a hit in the budget. We budgeted on 12, expecting 12, which is pretty reasonable. Of course, you know, the year prior to that, we had about 14 million, you know, way over what we budgeted. This year we have the exact opposite problem. We're well below what we budgeted.
Okay,
So,
and I have one other.
Sure, go ahead.
If I may. I mentioned at a previous meeting that I had the opportunity to actually visit the solid waste site and throw some stuff, you know, empty a trailer full of junk. I couldn't believe how much stuff was being thrown away. I mean, I had to wait in line. I'm not complaining about that. It was fine. But we're going to run out of space to throw things. I can't believe how much stuff was being thrown away.
that's why they're expanding to the west there.
There's got to be a better, I don't know what better way there is, but I mean, people are throwing away furniture, they're throwing away everything. And it's like, it takes a lot of space. Even after you run the compactors over, it's still.
If you'd have driven through the wastewater and gone up on the dike, you could have seen the new cells that they built to put that stuff in.
I mean, really, it's surprising how much stuff gets thrown away.
Are we also mandatory?
So anyway, that's it. Those are my
Okay, yes, Commissioner Larry.
So I guess we're in discussion with staff too in this.
Final board, yeah, what are we gonna talk about?
So my question is, why was this issue with the Wolf Lake drain discussion in this board if this board is incapable of doing anything about it?
Matt?
Just because the Water Resources Commission would be here. We did not.
You can request her to come to full board or a committee also, correct?
It should be. Yeah.
All right. Secondly, this argument of paying for it, if I remember when we decided to pursue this course, we already agreed to pay for the lake level study, correct?
So too.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, let's bring it back to the board and do something with it.
Yeah, there, if you look at that paragraph 1 contemplates the county will pay for it, but if for some reason it's not established, that the county will recoup those funds through the assessment under the existing program.
So now I'm speaking to our legal counsel from the Board of Public Works, and I'm talking about commissioner stuff. So it really shouldn't have been here, is my point. But how can you not? I'm speaking with corporate counsel. The lake, how can you? I'm sure the sump pump has a float on it. It tells you where the lake level is. It shuts on and shuts off. It just doesn't run till the lake is dry, correct?
No, when it turns on, the capacity of that station, when we turn it on, it stays on for a very long time. It keeps that. I check it in the morning on the way to work.
So the fluctuation of lake level is how much? 2 to 5 feet, 6 to 12 feet? Where does it fluctuate?
I would say 2 feet.
So over 30 years, it's fluctuated 2 feet because somebody's stopping out there every day to determine whether it needs to be turned on or not?
Well, I don't necessarily stop every day, but you know, if we have a rain event, I check it, or Justin checks it. We keep our eye on it.
So what's it varied over the last 10 years in elevation? 1 foot, 2 foot?
I don't know the 10 years we've had it for 2, but I've seen it 14 inches below that point, and I've seen it probably 16, 18 inches above it.
So how is he not going to establish a lake level with a 2-year track record of it being within 2 foot? There's a history right there.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's likely that it would be established. So, but there's a risk that somebody comes in and objects to either the contents of the lake level study, and for whatever reason, you know, it's like last time, nobody expected him to turn it down, and yet he did. Now, you know, we can't anticipate it. We can get a new lake level study. We can do our best in petitioning. We can fend off any challenges by property owners. But at the end of the day, it's not my decision. It's the judge's, right, and I can't account for that. I think it's likely that a lake level would be established, but I can't guarantee it either.
So we're going to move this back to the committee this motion came from. We passed this in the full board. What committee is it going to come back to and when? I mean, what committee did this come out of? Does anybody know?
I believe we ran this through Ways and Means and full board.
So we'll bring it back in the next full board, and so she has noticed it's coming back, and she can argue her points of why or why not to do it at that point, and we can make a determination.
If that's the consensus of.
Yeah, if the board.
Well, if this is the board of commissioners.
If the board of
this is
commissioners decides that they want me to modify the agreement that it's already approved, I'm happy to do that. And we can go through those finer points of that. I don't think it's altogether that complicated.
Have you received the memorandum of understanding?
I don't know if I have or not.
Okay. That sounds, I still got the floor, thank you.
Commissioner Larry, go ahead.
So can you receive that and see if the items are comparable that we can put into a contractual form?
Sure.
Can you look for it or have it sent? Can you send it to him? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Commissioner
Commissioner Coleman.
Fiscal, whether or not this is the right committee, I think that having Mrs. Moore here,
Ms.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
sorry,
MS, please.
Ms. Moore here was helpful.
Absolutely.
No, and I appreciate, yeah, I'm like, oh boy, I got 10 against 1. This will be great. But I appreciate you listening and getting to.
She has passed the.
Passed you what? Because I tapped you on the shoulder.
Thank you, Bridget.
Madam Chair, I know you want to wrap it up, Doug, but I got one more.
Commissioner Larry, go ahead.
So the idea, and this is a rebuttal to Mr. Skolnick, she has the information, the packets are available. Susie just complained that she didn't find about a drain district that she's in till it came in the mail. You get notice, you know when our commissioner meetings are, you can come and speak to these. You could have came and spoke when this motion first passed. You have those opportunities, the same as the public has. And if the public doesn't see what happens, they don't get to speak. So
Respectfully, I chose not to come. It's like I'm not comfortable with that language. I said so in July. For me to come in and argue with y'all and seem combative, it just, and I have a lot of things going on. It's like I already said my piece and it wasn't accommodated, and probably because we didn't have this forum, but it's like I'm not beating my head against the wall. I'm in the sidelines right now. And I'm staying in the sidelines.
You don't keep that. Any other? Commissioner Sears?
No, I'm good.
Anybody else? Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Okay, Matt.
are you?
Well, I have some.